Welcome to the first of a series of interviews united by one common theme, vocation to the priesthood in the Roman Catholic Church. I am Father Michael King, and I am the Director of Vocations and Priestly Formation for the Diocese of Hamilton. Today, I'm happy and honored to have as our first guests the Ordinary of the Hamilton Diocese, Bishop Douglas Crosby. Bishop Crosby, thank you for being the first of my victims.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Good. Could you tell us a little bit about your background, Bishop?
Well, I grew up in a small town in northwestern Ontario, a pulp and paper town. And my mom and dad met in this town when they were youngsters or young people and got married. And I was the first child of 7.
Wow.
And it was a wonderful community to grow up in. It was a company town, and we had all the amenities, and it was a happy place to grow up. And when my last sister was born, she was born in April, and we moved away from the town in July.
Okay.
So I had all my growing up years in that community, and I consider that to be a really important blessing in my life.
How old were you when you moved away?
16.
Okay.
I had just turned 16.
Formative years.
Very formative years.
Okay.
And it was a very safe community and very happy schooling and and all our relatives were there, my grandparents and aunts and uncles. And so it was a good place to grow up. And
wonderful. Yeah. And were both of your parents Catholic?
My mother became a Catholic upon marriage. And so when I grew up, they both were Catholic and practicing Catholic. They brought us to church, and we were quite involved in the community. And my mother was in the CW, Catholic Women's League, and my father was in the Knights of Columbus. The kinds of things that Catholic families do.
When did you start thinking about the priesthood?
So I would say in grade 5, grade 6. I began serving, being an altar server, and so you start participating in the Mass more than observing.
Right.
And at one occasion, an oblate missionary came to our community and gave a parish mission during Lent. 5 days of preaching and whatnot. And at that time, he talked to the young women on one after school and the young men on the other after school about vocations.
Okay.
And it was the first time I ever considered the possibility. So.
Did you go into seminary soon after?
No. I finished high school, and as I was in grade 13 in those days in Ontario, I had to think about what am I going to do with the rest of my life?
Sure.
And I was interested in law, and I was going to, and I had application forms for Western University.
Okay, yeah.
And there I saw information about St. Peter's Seminary. And so I said, really, I have to deal with this priesthood thing, whether I should. And so I decided I would go for 1 year. And I wrote the Bishop of Thunder Bay, the diocese, and I wrote the Oblates, this missionary.
Yes.
And I received a response from the Oblates very, very quickly, almost in the return mail. And so that was my choice, to go to the Oblates and initially to just spend 1 year, and we'll see what happens. And I went through. I enjoyed it very much.
Okay.
It was a wonderful experience, and so I stayed, and I was ordained. I was ordained in Ottawa at an Oblate parish, Holy Canadian Martyrs. And my first obedience, my first mission was in Labrador City. And so we had a beautiful Oblate community there. And it was a very young town, a mining town. So the average age, I think, would have been in maybe the high 20s, and I was
so
26, 27.
Okay, you fit right in.
Oh, it was a wonderful.
That must have been a good experience. Yeah,
it was.
Even if it's pretty far north.
It was very far north, very isolated. The only way in was to fly in, really.
Aye.
And we had a wonderful community. The pastor, my first pastor, was a brilliant pastor, and we had a great oblate community. We got along very, very well, and I learned to be a priest. You learn to be a priest really after all the study.
Okay.
You know, you learn what's involved in being a priest and how pastoral ministry.
You can't learn it
takes
from
place.
a book.
You don't learn from a book. And
no.
so I always figure I learned from the best.
Well, let me have you give away your age. What year were you ordained?
I was ordained in 1975.
Okay. Yeah.
So 45 years ago this year.
We can put that together. Now, during your priesthood, what would you say were your greatest joys as a priest?
Well, you know, the wonderful thing about the priesthood is that you participate in the important moments in people's lives.
Yeah.
And you get to know people in very, very personal ways and very beautiful ways. So if they have children and want them baptized, you really get to know the young couples.
Yes.
and you get to know and see the families grow.
Yeah.
And participate in the baptism, which is a joyful moment in people's lives. You participate in the marriage of young people, which is such an important time in their life. You participate in funerals, which are
the other end,
the other side.
Yeah.
But they're intense moments of people's lives.
Yeah.
And so I would say that is a beautiful part of the priesthood. Your engagement in the life of people, getting to know them. Getting to understand personal struggles, perhaps personal joys, concerns, and seeing people work through difficulties they might have, or discover new, and take on life. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. It's been a wonderful experience for me.
Yeah, yeah. And would you feel free to tell us about what some of your biggest challenges were in your years as a priest?
Well, you know, as a younger priest, the whole question of sexual abuse and infidelity of priests came to the fore, and that was first of all a surprise,
Yes.
and then it was a challenge.
Okay.
So to have to deal with that in my life and in the life of the church, and the shame that comes with it, and the embarrassment and the humiliation that comes with it.
We've all felt it. Yeah.
It's just difficult. So I would say that was a very big challenge.
Okay. And could you tell us what some of your biggest joys and challenges as a bishop have been?
Well, I would say challenges similar,
Okay, of course.
But joys as a bishop is working. You have so many opportunities, not only as a bishop, but even before I was a provincial superior of the Oblates, and then I became general secretary, and I started to have I would say a higher worldview, if you want. I got to know the church in Canada very well. I was involved more in the church internationally, getting to know the general secretaries from other Episcopal conferences. And then as bishop, having opportunity, because I was on the executive of the CCCB, opportunity to meet Pope John Paul, Pope Benedict, Pope Francis many times. And so, and always, and all of the heads of dicasteries, to have those opportunities to see the work of the church at would you say a higher level?
Universal.
Yes, yeah. Universal level. That's been a blessing in my life.
And making friends from all over the world.
All over the world,
yeah,
exactly.
Wonderful. Well, my last question would be this. What would you say to men, young and not so young, who are considering the priesthood?
So I have opportunity to say this I have opportunity to say this to many, because we've had many young men and not so young men study for the Diocese of Hamilton, and I've been very happy to get to know them and to have opportunity to speak to them. But I always tell them that it is a remarkable joy in their life, that they are going to be open to new experiences. I love to see young people, young men, make the decision to enter the seminary, and because I know I remember very well the anxiety I felt at the beginning, but the joy I felt as I started to become aware, starting to learn the prayer of the Church, starting to understand at a deeper level the celebration of the Eucharist.
And that sense of call that comes at seminary as you do those things.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly. The sense that you're responding to the call of the Lord.
Exactly.
And so it is a joy. Not that you don't have challenging days or bad days or tough days, but that overall, you're doing the right thing. You're doing what is right for you.
Thank you so much.
Great pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.